If you keep asking yourself, why do I blush so much? Then you are not alone. I used to blush every single day, often for no reason at all. It made me extremely embarrassed, extremely anxious, and honestly, just exhausted. But everything changed when I figure out what my true problem was. And so that is what I want to teach you here right now. If you don't know who I am, my name is Clint Clem, and for 10 years, I used to turn beet red in any social situation. It didn't matter if it was one-on-one or with friends or with strangers or in a group. I would simply turn into an absolute tomato. And it caused me to feel super embarrassed all the time. I was super anxious about when it might happen. And I was always thinking, what if I blush? Oh no, you're going to blush. And it really started to just dictate my entire life every single day. And it's something that nobody else seemed to understand, but I was going through essentially a living hell in my head. And it was terrible for 10 years. But fortunately, I found a permanent solution that has worked for me, and it totally restored my confidence. And it allowed me to live my life without even thinking about blushing. You can see a little bit of my before and after right here, and then me speaking on stage in front of over 1,500 people at graduation, right, on the other side of this. And the solution, it didn't require makeup or medications or therapy or surgery or anything like that. And now I run a program where I help other blushers implement this same process, this same solution into their lives. And it has been incredibly rewarding because you can see the massive difference that it made for me in terms of my confidence. Look at the kid on the left. And then just a few years later, how much more confident I was after this process. Right. And I've been able to teach it to dozens of other blushers one-on-one to help them make this same transformation. And I've taught it to hundreds of others online as well. And because of that, I've developed a pretty strong understanding of blushing. So what I want to do for you is explain what is going on, why you blush so much or so intensely, and then what you can do about it. So at its most basic level, blushing is just a stress response. Okay. You have some sort of physical or emotional stressor that is like exercise or anxiety or embarrassment. Those are all stressors. Now, what those do is inside of your body that produces adrenaline, right? And so that is going to increase blood flow to certain areas of your body, one of those being your face, your neck, or your chest. And that increased blood flow going to your skin is what we call blushing, right? That's what we see as blushing. Now, almost everyone in the world is capable of this process right here. This is just how the human body is supposed to function, right? So there is absolutely nothing wrong with you for your body working this way. Now, it might happen easier or it might be more noticeable for you if you have, a sensitive nervous system, if you have light or fair colored skin, because if you have lighter skin, you're going to be able to see the blood behind your skin much easier. And you also might have, just more reactive or larger blood vessels in your face, meaning that more blood is sent to your face than perhaps other people. This is likely the case if you are watching this, is you fall under at least one of these categories, if not all. But here is where things get really interesting. Okay. So one of the things that comes to mind is that if you're taking the time to watch this video, then there's a good chance that blushing is bothering you and that you're hoping to do something about it. And if that is the case, then I hope that you pay attention to this next part, because this realization, it could save you from having to go down some massive rabbit hole that I tried going down for 10 years. And it could save you from really going and spending money and trying all these different makeups and medications and therapy and even surgery in the future. So this is the important realization that you need to hear. Okay. Are you ready for it? Let me know. So if you are bothered by blushing, it's not the physical redness that is bothering you, right? It's not the actual blood sitting behind your skin that is bothering you. It's what the redness means to you. And that meaning is what is causing this whole problem. So let me explain. You're not just having some stressor and then turning red. That's not all that's happening. You're turning red, you blush, and then you immediately feel embarrassed about that blushing, right? And that embarrassment is another stressor that then causes more blushing, which causes more embarrassment. And this creates this very vicious cycle that I call the excessive blushing cycle. And it's very hard to escape, and it's very emotionally painful, right? Because you get embarrassed, that causes more blushing, and then that causes you more embarrassment. And it's disastrous. And this is when you panic. This is when you start looking for ways to get out of the situation or try to hide your face, all because you're trying to get out of this vicious cycle that's going on inside of your body and in your head. Okay. So as a result of this happening, like let's say that this happens once or happens twice, what happens is you start to think to yourself, man, I hope that never happens again. And so as a result of that, you start feeling anxious. You start feeling anxiety about the idea of blushing again in the future. It starts to become top of mind for you in social situations or around specific triggers that you feel like could create an embarrassing blushing moment. Now, anxiety is another stressor that causes blushing. So this creates a terrible cycle. You just think about blushing. That's what causes you to start feeling anxious. Your heart rate starts elevating. You start getting a little bit panicked. That increases your stress, which then produces adrenaline, causes you to start blushing. You then start feeling embarrassed or more anxious about what's going on. And then that increases your stress further, and you blush even more. You start getting really embarrassed. You start stressing more. You start blushing more. And you go over and over and over through this cycle. Right? Because if you notice, the reason you turn into a tomato, like you turn super red once it starts because of this embarrassment, right? Once you have a little bit of blushing start, then you get super embarrassed about it. And that's what causes you to turn into a tomato, is because this process will continue going over and over until you literally can't be any more red. But if you also blush very often, if you're just constantly having this happen, it's because you probably think about it a lot and you're getting anxious about it a lot, right? And then anxiety is the thing that triggers it to start, and the embarrassment causes it to go into a spiral. So the real issue isn't the blushing itself, and I want you to just ingrain this in your mind. The real issue is not the blushing itself. The real issue is the fear, right? The anxiety and the shame or embarrassment that you have attached to it. The blushing triggers its own trigger, right? And so that is why you feel trapped. But that's actually good news, because you can't change the way that you were born. You can't change it. But that's what most people try to do when this fear, when this anxiety, when the shame, when the embarrassment, when it gets really bad. They try to alter their body instead of just confronting the emotions, right? They take medications, they cover their face, they consider getting surgery on their nerves to prevent the blushing from even happening, like all of these things. And these are all extreme measures with very scary side effects. And so they're doing this to avoid solving the real problem. And it's oftentimes because they don't even actually know what's going on, and they're just looking for relief however they can. Right? But the reason you even want to hide the blushing is because you're embarrassed of it. That's the only reason you want to try to solve this. And so the real solution is to solve the anxiety and the embarrassment, which you can do. You can change those things. You've probably felt embarrassed about something before. You've probably felt anxious about something before. And today, it no longer bothers you, right? So that goes to show you that you can do this. You just need to do it with blushing. And so all it requires is changing the way that you think about blushing and the way that you act when it happens. And once you do that, that is when you go back to being a normal person. And that is the core of what I teach. If this is clicking for you and you want to finally break out of that cycle, then I put together a free training that explains exactly how to overcome blushing anxiety for good. Eliminate the fear, eliminate the embarrassment, the shame, the anxiety, the constant thoughts about blushing. You're going to be able to live the life that you want to live without fearing this all the time and just thinking about it and always being obsessed with what if I blush? You're going to learn why controlling blushing never seems to work. You're going to learn the new approach that I developed that helps me and hundreds of other blushers become confident in any situation. And you're going to learn how to start really just rewiring your brain so that you could stop fearing this and you stop triggering these intense blushing moments. And I know some of that sounds woo-woo, but like, trust me, like, after working with dozens of blushers one-on-one and then getting testimonials from hundreds of blushers online, this process just works. And so you'll understand why once you sign up and register for that training. So just click the link below this video, watch that training, and start your journey to real lasting confidence. You're so much closer than you think.